Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's class. So, if you can recall that in the last class, we went over some Figma basics, right? So we talked about plugins, and we did a few stuff with the masking tool, and also looked at the boolean groups. So today we're going to go further to discuss some other UI design elements. So today's class is going to be a very interactive one, and feel free to jot down because you're going to need it. Okay. And I also created a slide here to help as a guideline so that you do not easily forget these things. Well, before we start, you all know the culture. Quickly do that using the chat session. One emoji to describe your week so far. And while doing that, also type out or mention, please do well to mute your mics. Thank you very much. So I'll say while doing that, do well to type out one thing you learned from the last class. I mean, a lot of people said that last class was very interesting. I learned about masking, I learned about this, I learned about that. So what did you learn? What stood out for you in the last class? What did you try out? Does it mean nobody learns anything? Khalid says he learns the Boolean operations. Who else learned something? Alright, so we're just going to dive into it. And these are the things you're supposed to expect today. So in today's class, we're going to talk about auto layouts, right? We're going to talk about auto layouts, components, variants, style guides, how to create them. Also, we're looking at how to create bottom nav bars. I think that was part of the task the last task, yes, the last promotional task we gave. So like I said, today's class is going to be a lot. So like I always say, bring your ears and your eyes to today's class. So let's get started. So which are we going to start with? We're going to start with talking about what we call auto layouts, right? Auto layout is a feature on Figma that simplifies the arrangement and resizing of design elements. And the following are the benefits of auto layout. So I'm just going to explain what these elements are, and then we're going to dive into Figma while I illustrate or show you how this actually works. So the following are the benefits of auto layout. Number one, we have automatic resizing. It helps to maintain alignment and is actually time saving. This is like one of my favorite features on Figma. So that being said, I'm going to share my Figma board. Let me know if you can see my screen. My Figma board. I think it's still there. I'm sure you can see my screen. Please let me know in the chat section. Okay, so Tiben can see my screen. I hope every other person. Okay, all right. So we're just going to pick up from where we started. And we're talking about auto layout, right? Remember I mentioned that this feature helps with alignment and also to precise. So I'm just going to show you this feature, and I'm going to be using a button to illustrate. So before we get started, I'd like to show you how, or 3 different ways that people design buttons, right? We have people that fall into 3 categories. The first people use rectangles. Those are like novice, and a lot of you fall into that category. So we'll have this is the way some people design their buttons. Like I said, as rectangles. So all they have to do is just get a rectangle and maybe add a little bit of corner radius, maybe corner radius of 10 to this. Select a color. Let's say we go with blue. And then they add the text to it. Let's make this 16. They add the text to it. Like I said, many of you fall into this category. Now you can see that this button is not aligned. It's not properly aligned vertically and horizontally. So what they will do is select this, select rectangle, and then use the alignment tool here to align horizontally and then to align vertically. Now, like I said, this is, let me call this persona 1. This is for the novice. And then we have people that use frames, okay, to design their buttons. So they just get a frame here. And then they add a fill to the frame. Select a color. So use the same color. And then they add the same corner radius of 10 to this. And then they add their text button. So now the good thing about using a frame, which is different from when whoever is using the rectangle, is when you have a frame, okay, whatever element is inside that frame, it will align, okay, to the corners of the frame, right? But it's completely different. Now let's see what happens if I try to do or carry out that same action for this first one. Now I'm going to click on, I selected on button here, right? This button text. I'm going to go to this same alignment. I'm going to use the same alignment rather to align horizontally. You can see that, where is it? It's actually, has gone to the horizontal center of this frame, frame 7. I hope you understood that. So this is what happens when you design without a frame. Okay, so it will automatically like align to this frame, this big frame that we have here, the white frame. So if you want it to be aligned to this guy, this rectangle that we have here, what you have to do is select both of them before you start your alignment. So you can see the difference. But this is a frame. That's why this automatically aligns to the frame. So you can just align this to the left of the frame, to the top. Okay. So this is for, let me make this bigger. You see, this is what happens. So this is for persona 2. This is the second way that most people design their buttons. And then I fall into the third category. which is the persona 3, right? And I design my buttons using auto layout. Now, how does that work? All I need to do is get my text, type button, and then you can either right click to add auto layout, or use your keys, Shift plus A, the Shift key plus A to add auto layout. Now, when you add auto layout, this is what happens. This is the where you get to run your commands for auto layouts. Okay, and here you can change the alignment. You can even add paddings and all of it. Very see this padding when I added the auto layout. You can see this. Okay, so here I can decide to align left, align to the bottom, align to the right, and all of that. So, and I can also change the horizontal padding. This is the horizontal padding. As you can see here, we have 10. Now I can decide that I want it to be 20, and that spans out. Okay, I can also decide that I want the vertical padding, which is at the top here. So when I hover around this, you can see that that's vertical padding. I can decide that I want this to be 22, or just leave it at 10, right? And then I can also add a fill, just like we had for the other buttons. So I'm going to add a fill, use the same color. Okay, and because of contrast, we're going to change this button text to white for visibility. And then I can still go ahead and add my corner radius. So like I said, this is much easier because I can adjust this button and then the text still stays. I can adjust this button to whatever length that I want. Okay. So these are the three types of buttons, or the 3 types of ways that people design their buttons, right? Now let me show you another way that auto layout works. Alignments. Let me change this to maybe gray. And I'm probably just going to get an icon. Let's use home then. It's very big. Okay, so let's say we have this placed together, right? I'm going to select both of them now and add auto layout. I just added auto layout to this. Okay, so with this now, it helps you to check alignment. All right, so if we decide to increase this padding, for example, I can decide that I want this to be aligned to the top left, okay, or aligned to the top right, or aligned to the bottom. You can see that, you can see the movement, or I want it to be at the center, right? Let's increase this. So you can see that this is actually at the left. We've aligned this to the left. So we can decide to bring it to the center. So you don't have to stress by maybe shifting it manually or trying to align it yourself. This is what auto layout does. Makes it very easy. Okay. Otherwise, we will just have to do this. So without auto layout, this is what it looks like. Let me select this. Yes, so this is without auto layout. I'll now have to select this together and now manually do this, align it vertically. So you can see the difference now. Auto layout and not making use of auto layout. So another way that auto layout works is, I'm going to show you an example of a slider. I don't know if you guys know what a slider is, but I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm just going to place circles, maybe 3 or 4 circles. It's 10. So where we often see sliders, or where we come across sliders, are onboarding screens. So I'm going to select this, give them a difference of 4. Kids. And then maybe give this orange, for instance. So I'm sure most of you have come across this. Like I said, you often see them on onboarding screens. Okay, you know where you get to keep sliding screen by screen. Maybe this will show that you have 4 screens. Okay, so this indicator shows you that you're actually on the second screen. I hope that we've actually come across this before. So I don't know, but maybe it might sound strange. So you know, people. So that's how sliders work. And I'm going to select all of this and add auto layouts. Now, if I want to show that we've moved to the next page, all I have to do is use my arrow keys. You know, the arrow keys on your keyboard for left, top, right, and bottom. So I'm going to select, I'm going to click on the right arrow, and this will switch to the other one. Okay, you can see these movements. This is what auto layout does, right? So this is why auto layout is very important, like we pointed out. Now, we've talked about auto layouts. The next thing we're going to be talking about is components. So I'm just going to go back and share my other screen. We're going to do a lot of toggling today, so bear with me. So we talked about we talked about auto layouts. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is what components. Now, components are reusable design elements or objects that can be used consistently across your design files. Okay, these are components, reusable design elements that can be used across your designs. And especially if you're working in a team, components are very, very important. And the following are the benefits. It maintains design consistency. That's the key word. When thinking about components, think about consistency. Maintains design consistency. It helps you to easily update your elements. And also it helps with collaboration. Okay, because if you're working with team, your team members, or everybody in your team can make use of the same components, right? And you can easily add updates. Okay, and you don't have to stress. I'm going to explain that on Figma. So let me just switch back to my Figma. Like I said, we're going to do a lot of toggling today. So let me just get another framework to duplicate this. Just select all of these and hit delete. So for this one, we said we're talking about words, components. Now I'm just going to steal my button, this one that I used. I'm just going to get this button. Let's get this here. So how do we create components? This is it. You can see this icon that looks like a diamond or 4 diamonds placed together. Create components. You can either click on these, or if you're the type that likes shortcuts, you can use Control plus the Alt key plus K to create a component. Now we're going to click on this and a component has been created. Now let me show you how this works. Like I said, we said it helps for consistency, yeah? We also mentioned that it helps in collaboration and easy updates. Now, I think we designed a screen here, so I'm just going to steal this. Let me zoom out. Let's assume that we're making use of this design here where we had the welcome back. Okay, and we decide that now this is the parent component. Okay, decide to copy this and place it here. I'm sure we saw what I just did. I copied from the main component, or we call parent component, and I placed it here, right? So for instance, let me give you a very practical example. You're working on a design project, right? And at the start of the project, maybe you and the client was not so sure of the color to make use of what color to make use of, right? And he said, okay, just use blue for the meantime. And then 2 weeks later, 2 weeks into the project, he tells you that I think we should go for, let's go for, what color do I even use here? Let's go for orange. Now, I don't have to, let's say that at this point, right, when the client decides that he or she wants to change his or her mind, I have designed like up to 50 screens, like 50 different screens, home pages, categories. If I was working on maybe an e-commerce website or app or mobile app, and I've designed like 50 screens, I don't have to keep going to each and every one of those screens to change the color. All I have to do is change the color on the parent component. Now see what happens. Remember that we duplicated this guy. You can see that this changed to the button that we have on this screen. So even if we want to duplicate this screen, for instance, let's say we have 2 of this. Now let me bring this closer. So I was saying that we have maybe up to like 3 of these guys, right? So the client is like, please change this color. I don't like this color anymore. So all you have to do is just go to the parent components and change, and everything automatically changes. Okay, these are like the baby components. That's how I like to put them. And this is the parent component. So this is why component is a very important UI element or UI principle, right? So not only can you change this, if I decide that I want to change what's written on this guy from button to, I'm just trying to so you can see my screen, you can see the rest of the other copied components. So we've seen that the text we have here is button. I can decide that I want to change this to sign up. Can watch the other components. I can see that the changes are being implemented. So this is the importance or the benefits of using components on your UI design projects. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is what we call the variants. Now we've talked about, what's the first thing we talked about? Auto layout. We've talked about components. The next thing we're going to be looking at is what we call the variants. What are variants? Variants are different states or versions of a component. Different states or versions rather of a component. And the following are the benefits. It creates interactive elements, represents design variations, and it saves time on repetitive design work. So you don't have to do the same thing over and over again. And let me show you what that means. I'm just going to show you an example of that using Figma. So I'm just quickly going to share back my Figma board. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of toggling today, so just bear with me. So what were we talking about? We're talking about variants, right? So now that I have created a component out of this, I can now decide to add variants. Now, this is what happens when I decide to add variants. We have this. What did we say? We said variation or different versions of what? A component. Now, this is, if you can see on my right side, we have current variant 2. I can decide that I want this to be, I don't know, the secondary button. And now all I have to do is change this guy. Let's see. Let's just add a stroke. Maybe 2 here. Add this same color and change this guy. Let's take out a few first. And then change this guy to this color. So we can now say login, for instance. So now we have 2 versions, right? 2 variations here. We have this, the primary, and then we have the secondary. Now, I'm just going to select this guy. So you can see that this is the default, right? Remember that we've created a variation here. We have this variant. Now this is sign up on this screen. So that's what we said. You don't have to go back and repeat the process. Now, what if I wanted to change this guy to login? Do you understand? I'll change this to login. It's a normal person who doesn't know about components and variants. This is what the person is going to do. The person is going to probably try to now start changing this thing by adding a stroke to this button and all of that. But since I actually created like different variations, all I have to do is now watch this. I'm going to go here. You can see at the right side, there's a drop down here to show you that this is default. So all I'm going to do is click on this and select secondary button, and this automatically changes to the secondary button. I hope you followed that. So this is what happens when you have different variations. So if I created more than 2 variations, maybe I had another one, you can actually add another variation if you want. And let's say we want this to be, I don't know, tertiary. And by tertiary, we don't want to have this guy. We don't want to have this stroke. We can decide to take out this stroke. We just want this. And maybe we could call this add task. I'm just being practical. We can decide that this is a tertiary button, right? So we have 3 variations. So I can make my choice here. I can either decide to change this button to default, or change it to secondary, or change it to tertiary. Now this is what happens when you have different variations. So I hope with that you actually understand what variants are and how to create them. Now the next thing we're going to be looking at is what we call the style guide. Right? Style guide. I don't know if you've come across style guide or you've heard people talk about style guide. But style guide is a set of guidelines and standards for designing user interfaces. Now, what style guide does is it ensures a consistent and a kind of a sort of cohesive look and feel across all your digital products. Okay, it is very important. And these are the key objectives: consistency, branding, and user experience. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, what is this brand all about? So if I'm designing for a banking application or a particular company, you know how companies meet designers and tell them, oh, I want you to design a website for KodeCamp. I want you to design a website for Codehouse. So you need to ask yourself some certain questions like, what is the, because some companies actually have like a brand style guide, okay? So they have like their colors, the brand colors, they have the typography that they could decide that they want to be using Montserrat, okay, this is like the brand typography, right? We have Montserrat. We can also have different styles, or the way they like their images to be. Maybe they like their images to be in black and white. That's the company style guide. So it is very important for you to make sure that you create a style guide before you start working on any design project, because it helps to keep the design consistent, and also it helps to maintain the brand style. Yes. So the following are components of a UI design style guide. We have typography, we have color, iconography, which are the icons. We have button and interactive elements. We have forms and input fields. And lastly, we have layout and grids. And we're going to be talking about this one after the other. Then we're done. When we're done, we're going to go into Figma, and I'm going to show you how to create one. So the first thing we're going to be looking at here is what? Typography. So what you want to put into place or consider are the font choices. What fonts do you want to use? Are you making use of two types of fonts, or from different families? Font sizes, what are the sizes you want to make use of? Do you want to use a different size for the headings, different sizes for the subheadings, for the body text? So all of these are things that you need to put into consideration. Also the line spacing, use of headings and subheadings, like I already mentioned, and all of that. These are things that you need to consider when you're creating these text styles. Now, the next thing is the color. What's the primary color? What primary color do you want to make use of? What's the secondary color? And then you need to make sure that, you need to note that whatever secondary color you're picking, it actually complements the primary color. Don't pick two off colors. Imagine picking the primary color to be pink, and then picking the secondary color to be brown. Okay, so you must make sure that you pick colors that actually complement each other, and then also have some color usage guidelines, right? Make sure that whatever color you're making use of, it has the right contrast, especially on your buttons. And then we have the iconography. So here you're going to be looking at standard icons. You have to take note of the icon style and then apply some guidelines too. So what you want to do when creating your iconography, right? You have to define the color style. I think I mentioned it in one of those classes, and this is something that should really guide you. I mean, I've seen a lot of designers make that mistake. You have to define your icon style. Now, by that, I mean, do you want to make use of a flat icon style? Do you want to make use of outline icons? Or do you want to make use of field icons? Okay, these are things that you need to take note of. Also, define which type of actions that are appropriate for your icon representation. So you know that we're very familiar with the magnifying glass for search. A lot of people use that to represent the search, right? Just like we also have the house icon for home and many others. Also, make sure that whatever icon you're introducing to your design, they're actually understandable. So even without adding text labels, ask yourself, can a user, when seeing this icon, actually understand what this icon means? If I'm seeing a magnifying glass, will I know that it actually represents or signifies search? And also, you should note that the icon sizes differ according to screen sizes. So for the mobile, you can decide that you want to use smaller icons and then larger icons for the desktop, right? These different screen sizes have different icon sizes too. The icon sizes differ. Also, make sure that you follow guidelines for your spacing and alignment when making use of icons, especially when you're placing icons with the text. Don't make it too close to the text. Just make sure that it has the right amount of padding. We're going to look at all of these things when we get into Figma, right? I just want to go over all of this, so we don't have to keep toggling back and forth. So the next thing is what? Buttons. Buttons are interactive elements. So here you're going to make sure to display your button styles, hover effects. You want to show the different states. How is the button going to look like when it is active? How's it going to look like when it is inactive or disabled? And all of that. This is where this comes in. Now the next thing is the layout and grids. I thought it was in the last class how to add layout grid to your screens or to your frames. So here you want to put down the page layouts and also create a grid system that has your margins and paddings and all of that. Now, what's the benefit of UI style guide? Number one, it creates consistency in design, helps for faster development, improved user experience, and brand identity. This is the benefit of UI style guide. Consistency, faster development, improved user experience, and also brand identity. So that's that for UI style guide. And like I said, we're going to go into Figma and run all of this from top to bottom. But before we do, we're going to look at the last thing because we're way behind time, which is words, bottom nav bars. So how many of us have seen this? How many of us have seen where bottom nav bars are being used? You can see it on my screen. You can just use the comment section. Everybody is just so quiet. How many of us have seen have made use of this or interacted with a bottom nav bar? Okay, I've seen yes, I have. Okay, so we see this almost every day, right? Because there are a lot of applications that make use of this. It could be your banking app, it could be a food ordering application. There are lots of different applications. And then we also have side navs. But today we're going to be talking about bottom nav bars, which a lot of us are familiar with. Now, bottom navigation bars are a common UI element used in mobile app and websites designs. And they provide quick and easy access to key sections or features of an application. It acts as a shortcut, okay? Because if I have for instance, I'm on the home page and then I select something else, maybe I go back to my profile. I don't have to think too much or try to start figuring out how to go back to the home page. All I have to do is just click on the home icon on the bottom nav bar, right? So these are the key characteristics of a bottom navigation bar. It is usually positioned at the bottom of the screen for easy thumb reach, and typically 3 to 5 primary navigation items and icons. It is often used in conjunction with icons and labels, and it provides a clear and persistent navigation structure. Okay, these are the key characteristics. And then I put together these principles that could help you when you're designing a bottom nav bar. First of all, you want to keep it simple. Limit the number of items to the most essential ones, because I see a lot of people try to design a bottom nav bar and they're putting like up to 6 items. They have home, they have search, they have a lot of different things on the bottom nav bar. So everywhere is now too crowded or has a lot of items on them. So you have to decide what do you want to be the key items I'm showcasing on the bottom nav bar, right? Also make use of consistent icons. That's why I said that it is very important for you to, if you're making use of outline icons, okay, maybe the home icon is outline, you want the search to be outlined too, and every other icon or the items that you add to your bottom navigation bar. So make sure that you use recognizable icons that represent the purpose of each section. Use clear labels too, okay, to help the users or the viewers to understand what this icon represents. Now highlight the current section. What you want to do is indicate which section is actually active at a particular time. You know how you click on the home icon and then that actually is highlighted. That means the color is totally different from every other item or icon on the bottom navbar. Now, these are a few steps to creating a bottom navbar. The first thing you want to do is sketch the layout of a bottom navbar and its components. Those are icons and labels. You can just have just icons if you want to. Consider the overall visual style and branding of your app. Step 2, you want to select the icons. So choose icons that are intuitive and represent the app sections, and also ensure that the icons are visually consistent. I've already mentioned this and I'm saying it again for emphasis. Step 3, you want to put in the labels, the text labels, to clarify the purpose of each of these icons. And make sure that the labels are short and descriptive. That's why we have home, search, profile, reels. We're looking at Instagram and all of that. Step 4, we have the placement. So you want to position the bottom navbar at the bottom of your screen, ensuring that it doesn't obstruct any content. Step 5, define how the icons and labels change when they are being tapped on. Does it have a color change? Will it be underlined? How is it going to look like when it is being tapped on, right? So show the different interactive states. Now, another thing you want to do is prioritize key sections that users access frequently, okay? And make sure that each of these icons and their labels are readable and you can actually distinguish them from the other. And like I said, which is very important, visual consistency. So let's go into Figma and we're going to start with the UI style guide rather, before we go into the bottom navbar. So I'm just going to share my Figma screen. And we're going to get right into it. So the first thing we're going to be doing is create our textile. I'm going to get a frame here. And I'm going to call this textiles. Okay, so can somebody give us a typeface? What typeface do you want us to use for this class? What typeface do we use? I'm waiting for answers. What typeface? Poppins, okay. I think you guys love Poppins a lot. So Poppins, it is. That's like the third person saying Poppins. Wow. Okay, Poppins habits. We're just going to go with Poppins. So that means we have to change this from Inter to Poppins. Okay, and maybe make this semi-bold. Just center it. So let's assume that I want to, I'm creating this style guide for a mobile application, right? So I'm just going to list out the different, text sizes and text styles that I want to be inclusive in this project or whatever project you might be working on. So the first thing I want to put down here is what's the title. Let me just list them all out. Let's start with title. So for the title, it's, that, like I said, different text sizes varies, right? We're looking at the different screen sizes. So for a mobile application, the appropriate size for a title text, right, is 24. Okay, so it's not too big or too small. So I'm just going to zoom in to this. We're using 24. And because it's tight, we're going to leave it as bold. We're going to leave it at bold. Yes. So that's 24. Now let me just use this to maybe write out something. Whose name will I use here? I'm going to type out Benny Mo. I think his name is joint. Is a code camper. And then here, I'm just going to put the size. And what's the size? We have 24 points. And let's not limit ourselves. So we could say 24, but I mean, you can also use from 24 to 28, right? Like I said, different screen varies, okay? So we don't want it to be too small or too big. Remember, this is a title text. So I'm just going to select all of this and, I don't know, distribute it horizontally so that they have the same amount of spacing in between them. So we have this for the title. Now, what I want to do is select all of this. Now, how do we create a text style? Right? You want to go to the right side of your page. You can see these 4 dots here. These 4 dots. And when I hovered on it, it showed style. So when I click on this, so now you can see that I already have text styles that I've created for different projects, right? But this one is a new project. So what I want to do is click on this plus icon to create a new style. Now, how do you do? When you do that, you have name, description. If you want to describe what this text, this particular style is for. So because we said this is title, we're just going to say title and /24 /bold. You know, those are like the properties that we make use of. So when I've done that, I'm now going to create a style. Okay, when I've done that, I'm going to create a style. Now, if I select on this, you can see now that we have this. I've actually created a style here. You can see title 24 bold, just like we did here. So yes, we created a style for that. And why does that help? Right? Remember we talked about consistency. So if I decide that I want to go back to this screen, yeah, you can see we had welcome back here. So this is a very perfect example to make use of. We have welcome back here, and this is an entirely different typeface and thick. So what if we want to change this? Okay, remember we talked about this as helping with brand identity and consistency. So what if I now have to change this to the style guide we just created? All I have to do is go to this style and then select this. This is what we just created now, title 24 bold. So I'm going to select this and it will change to that particular text style. So we're making use of the text style here now. I hope you guys understand that. So we're just going to go back and maybe create a few others. I'm going to select this and we're going to maybe call this subheading. We're going to call this subheading. Subheading 1, for instance. And for the subheading 1, we want this to be 20. Okay, and we want this to be medium. Because, of course, this is for the subheading text. It cannot be the same. Remember, we talked about contrast, right? So imagine we're putting title and then a subheading, right? It cannot be the same. So we have subheading 20 we're just going to go over the same procedure that we did. We decide that we want to have the same text here. I mean, it's not compulsory that you write out this though. When you is a KodeCamp, it's not compulsory, right? People have different ways of creating their style guide. And this is how I want to do mine. So for this one, we're going to have what's here? 20 points, like I said. And I'm going to do the same thing I did here. Select all of them and distribute horizontal spacing. Well, let me just do this manually because it doesn't look too tidy. So I'm just going to, okay, and shift this guy here. So we have this for subheading. And what you're going to do, if you want to create a style for this one, the same thing, I'm going to select all of them and go over the same procedure again. Click on style. Click on the plus icon to create a style for this particular one that we have here for subheading. And then write the name. What's the name? Subheading. Then I'm just going to add the different other properties. Remember that we used medium for this one. And what's the size? We used 20. So when you're done with this, you can just write the description if you want to, but I don't want to. And then we go ahead to create the style. Right? So that's why I said, and I gave this example, that you can still go back to whatever screen you have and decide to use a different style guide, or a different text style. So now we have medium here. We can see these two that we just created, bold and medium. I can decide I want this to be subheading. You can see that. So that's the whole essence of creating a text style, because you have it like in a folder, right? So these are like a list of styles that I have created. You can see header here, header 1, header 2. We have body for different projects, right? That's the whole essence of text style. Now, because of time, we're going to move over to the next thing, which is what's the color styles. So we have color styles. And let me just select this, delete. So we have color styles. Now for this one, somebody should give me a primary color, just any color at all. Just give me a nice color. Thank you very much. So for this one, I'm just going to arrange different circles on my different circles. Purple, red. I don't like red. We're going to have different circles here. Let me just make this 200 so it's not too small. Yeah, so I'm going to maybe 3 or 4. That's fine. And then I'm going to call this primary. I'm going to repeat the same thing, just copy this and duplicate. Duplicates. Ha, lemon, pink. Annie, what's going on? So for this, we have primary. This one, we're going to have what? Secondary. Remember we talked about primary and secondary color. And also, we're going to have, so there's what we call accents, right? And this is where you know how you see error states, right? On an application or website, and also see the success. So can somebody tell me what color we used to for the error states? What colors do we use for the error states on an application or website? Red. Thank you very much. That's very brilliant. And for the success states, what do we have? What color do we have for the success? Green. Brilliant. So we're going to have this to be our accent red. That's for the red, for the error state. And we're going to have this to be what? Our accent color for the success. Well, let's just call this error. Let's call this success. So that's so for the primary color, I think I have a color code. You know how you like a color and then you decide to memorize the color code. Let me see if I can still remember. FFCB45. Now it doesn't look too fine. I don't like it anymore. I think I'll go with something like this. Something that looks a little bit like orange. I like orange color a lot. So yes, so this is our primary color. Now what I want to do is, before I create a style out of this. It's almost the same procedure as when we're printing our textiles. But before that, I want this primary color to have like different, I want to have different shades of this primary color. So I'm going to copy this color, what's it called? This color code. Control C to copy it. So when I've copied this, Control C to copy this, I'm going to select on the second circle, paste here. But then instead of using the opacity of 100%, you can see here 100%. I'm going to reduce it to, let's say 80. Like I said, we want different tints or shades of that. So I'm going to reduce this to 80. I'm going to do the same thing here. But for this one, I'm going to use, let's say we're using even numbers. So 80, 180. The next one is going to be what? 60. Samuel, thank you very much. So what's the next one going to be? Let's decide that I want this to be 40. I mean, you can go on and have it up to 10, right? Because of course, you can see that most people might use this for the disabled states, right? So you can go on and on, like I said, next one can be 20, and then we have the last one to be 10. So this is what we're going to use for our primary color. Then for our secondary color, I'm going to make use of something darker or something that can actually complement this primary color. So for that, I'm going to make use of, let me see, 1F, 1F, 1F. Let me say I want to use that for my secondary. So before we go into secondary, right? So how am I going to create this style? Like I said, it's the same procedure. Just go over here. See this, this icon here, style. And then you can already see that this is my library. I have a lot of color styles I have created. There are lots for different projects, right? So what I'm going to do is to create this new one. I'm going to just select this, right? Now, this is the new color style. This is where you get to put the name. So what's this? I'm going to call this primary / I'm going to put 100 because this is like at 100%, right? The opacity here is 100. So I'm going to put primary / 100 and then create my style. Now you can see this. Now it's created. You can see primary 100. This style has been created now. I'm going to go back to the second one and follow the same procedure. And for this one, we're going to call it what? I'm still going to call it primary / what? 80% and create my style. Now you can see this. So all of it fall on that primary, but then they are like different shades. You can see for 100, you can see for 80. Let me just quickly do that for this one. Same procedure. Primary / words, 60%. Create style. Same procedure. Plus icon. Primary slash words 40%. And we've created our styles. You can see that here. Now, this is the essence of creating color styles. Like you said, consistency. So I'm just still going to go over here. Let me just play around with this our button. So I've seen that this color is like I want to change it, and I want to use the style. I want to use a color from my style, from my color styles, yes. So I'm just going to go to this style icon here. Click on this, select my color, change it. This is the essence of creating color styles, different color styles. I can do the same thing with this guy here. Come here, click on this icon, select it. Now, if I want it to maybe have the other colors that we created, this is it. Okay, so you can just select any of them from your color styles. So we've done that for the color styles. So the next thing that I'm going to be showing you guys is, I think I'll show it for the buttons. Yes, because that's going to take time. So let me show you for the buttons. So I'm just going to duplicate this and we're going to call this button elements. So for the buttons, we're just going to be showing, I'm just going to show the different states, right? I'm going to start by, let me just get this text here. So can somebody tell me in the chat box what an active button looks like, or the characteristics of an active button? This class is meant to be interactive, remember. What's the characteristics of an active button? If a button is said to be active, what does it look like? What does that state look like? Do we have answers? One that is focus. Changes color when clicked on. An active button. Can we have more answers? Don't be shy or scared of saying the wrong thing. That's how you learn. Highlighted one. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So yes, we're going to just going to play around. So for this, I think I'd like to make use of this same color that we used. So I'm going to get this button. Now this is small. Let me just increase it a bit. We'll make this 56. So can we agree that this is an active button? You know, when you say button is active, you can actually like, that button is active, do you get? So if you're on a sign up screen, for example, and you finish filling out, most times on a mobile app, if you've not you've not filled out all the form fields, right? That button is not going to be active. So the minute you start, typing in stuff, that button becomes active. So can we agree that this is actually an active state? Okay, I've gotten a yes. Gotten a yes. So yes, this is actually an active state of a button. Now, what's the hover state going to look like? Does anybody have any idea? So let's say you're on a website, right? Let's say you're on a website and then you are hovering on the website. What's it going to look like? Can I have answers? Okay, Annie said it will be bigger when you hover, changes color when you hover, only active when you come closer. I'm having a lot of interesting answers here. When you hover on it, becomes filled. I think it all depends on what the designer wants. So most of the times when you hover, the color can be a little bit darker. And then sometimes when you hover on it, right, it becomes bigger, like Annie said. And so other times if you hover on it, it depends on what you as a designer wants the hover state to look like. Okay, so like I said, it has a lot of different, so we can decide that maybe we want this to, when somebody hovers on it, we want this to be what? To be, out an outlined button. So we can now take this out and make this the primary color. So like I said, you can decide that you want this to be the state when the person hovers on it. Okay. So when the person just hovers on it like this, it changes to this state. Now for the loading, what's it going to look like? Does anybody have any idea? If we're saying that a button is loading, what could it possibly look like? Any idea? Loading has a lower opacity, rounded dots, 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 dots. Interesting answers, interesting answers. So for the loading, I can decide I want this to be there. And maybe we're just going to bring this here. And we're going to add this. Change this to white. This could be a loading state. This could be a loading state. It depends on the designer though. Okay. And for disabled, what do we have for disabled? Does anybody have any answer? Disabled. Okay. It said it to be gray. Nothing will happen. Your answers are so interesting. So most people prefer to have gray for the disabled. And most people tend to use, most people tend to use this color for the disabled, but I personally don't like it. I think I like to keep my own. I like to keep my own grayed out so it doesn't confuse the user. So I'm just going to change this from primary color to maybe 3 or so yes. I can decide that I want this to be the disabled state. So you know that this button is not active, is not clickable. You cannot actually click on it. Okay, so brilliant answers, brilliant answers. So the next thing we're going to be doing quickly is the text fields. So this comes when you want to design or when you're looking at let me increase this. When you're filling out a form, it could be on a sign-up screen or it depends. So what's the default state for a text field? Does anybody have any answer for that? I think I want to reduce this to 50. And we're going to have text. Definitely not semi-bold. Not too. So does this look familiar? Somebody said a blank box with a write-up description. Yes, a lighter color with a placeholder. Thank you very much, Khalid. So yes, this does look familiar. So can we say that this is the default state? What is our text? So we can call this default here. Now for hover, what could hover possibly look like? Or let me not call it hover. Let's say active. Or maybe let's say hover. What's hover going to look like? Does anybody have any idea? This is small. The cursor changes. What cursor, please, Sophie? So we're just going to duplicate this. And for this one, we could decide that I want a stroke like this. For hover, this is our primary color. So this is for the hover state. So what are we going to have for the, we could either call it an active state or focus. You know, when somebody's actually like, if this is a website, the person has selected this thing and is about to type, what can we have for that state? We can have this, we can still have this stroke, and then we can maybe have a short, very short. We can have this, right? Does this look familiar? So this is for the focus state, right? So if we're to what's the other state? If we're to throw an error message, what's that going to look like? Answers, please. Let's work on this together. What's the error going to look like? The error state. What color? Is this going to have the primary color? Remember we talked about this. Red outline. Thank you very much. Beautiful answers. Is that all? Just that? Just the red outline? What else? An error text. Thank you very much, Khalid. An error text. It is very essential that, you know, if you're telling somebody, if you're trained off an error, or maybe what the person was typing, you need to include the what's it called, an error message. Let the person know that, okay, this is where I got it all wrong. The error message, what color is it going to be? What color is the error? Okay, in red too. Thank you very much. Tiben, thank you very much. Uluwa. Yes, so we're going to have that to be what? The same red color. So yes, you can say this is the for the error state. Beautiful. So we actually did that together. So yes, we have this for the text fields and for the form fields too. And for the icons, right? It's basically you putting together a list of, the icons you're going to make use of on your application. So most people decide to get icon packs, or you could just go to, Iconify and get your icons into this. So we can just say we want to have home. You just select what you want to have for your home. That's too slow. So search. Most people prefer to do this, or they just get download icon packs, like I said. So this the following are the places where you can get your icons. Flat icons, the websites have icons 8. We have material design icons. So you should feel free to check out those websites, right, for icons. Remember, I mentioned that consistency. What have you noticed so far in my icons? The style of my icons. What have you noticed so far? Is there anything that is unique that I've noticed in the icons that I am picking out? They are not solid. Thank you very much, Sophie. They're actually outlined. Remember, I said that it's very important that you decide what style you want to be making use of for your icons. Oreolua, yes, they are outlined. Thank you very much. So I'm just going to get these two. Yeah. So you can now have this to be your icons. Is that you do this, like I said, or you can download an icon pack and introduce them into your Figma board. So without wasting any more time, we're going to just move right into the bottom navigation, right? And it's a good thing that I selected these guys out here. So I'm just going to get these, change them to white. And then we can start off from there. So we have this, we have the home, we have the search, we have profile, and we have this. So let's say we just want to quickly create something out of this, guys. What are we going to do first? I'm going to get my text because I probably want this to be. I probably want to add a text to this. So I'm going to do this home. And we'll select this together and make sure that it is aligned. Okay. But first, I'm just going to quickly get my rectangles. We have something like this. Hope this is not too big. We'll just reduce it slightly. I'm going to duplicate this into 4 places because I want this to be like to box this, guys. So for this now, maybe I want this to be half rounded corners. So just watch. I'm going to select these different independent corners. And then for this side, I'm going to maybe put this to be 20. I think that's too much, 10. Put 10 here too. And then do the same thing here because I don't want it to affect all of them. 10, 10. So just select all of this together. When I do that, I'm going to distribute horizontal spacing. So when you click on distribute horizontal spacing, you can now see that all of them here, they have the same spacing in between them. This is 17, this is 17, this is 17. This is it. So I'm going to close that off by clicking 0. So they all come together. Right? Now I think that this is too much. Is it? Let's just make it 8. I don't really like rounded corners. So I'm just going to change this to 8, change this to 8 to yes. So when that is done, I'm going to just, I've already selected these guys. Okay. And I'm going to group this. But before that, let me just quickly do this. What's this? What's this other icon? What does it represent? Search, right? And the next one, what are we going to call the next one? What are we going to call the next one? Profile. Thank you very much, Obre Oluwa. Thank you very much, Suleiman. Thank you, Annie. Profile. This one is going to be very tricky. What's this? Menu. Okay. All right. You guys are on fire today. That's beautiful. So I'm just going to, yes, do this. Select this. 4 is what I want. And group this. Select this. Make sure that it is aligned horizontally. Group this too. And select this. So what I'm going to do next is just, I think this thing is too big. Yes, this thing is too small rather. So I'm just going to increase all of this. It's too small. Maybe we want this to be white. Yes, so still looking very, what's our primary color again? Sorry about that. It's too small. So I'm just going to increase this. I keep increasing so that you can actually take up this space. I may actually have to increase the width too. So maybe I don't know, 15. Hope this will actually do. Let's say we bring this to front. Where is it? So I think we may have to reduce all of this, guys, or either way we increase this. We may have to increase this. I think this will work then. Okay, it makes more sense. This 14. Maybe make this 20 because they're looking too enormous. We don't want that. So I think that's perfect. So we're going to change this to 22. And change this text to 14. The same thing here. 20. We'll have to check the alignment again. 20. Make this words 14. Select both. 4. Yes, so we have that. Make sure it's properly aligned to this. For these ones now, we're going to grade them out. Or are we supposed to highlight all of them? Are we supposed to highlight all of them? Nobody is saying anything. You guys have left me. That's so heartbreaking. Okay, I've got some answers. So I'm just going to fix this in here, bring to front, make sure that it is bring this here, bring to front, select this, make sure it's aligned to that rectangle space that I want that. So I'm going to bring this to front, so make sure it is aligned. So we have this now. Now what I'm going to do is select both of them together. So why is this color different? Can somebody tell me why? Why is the home page having primary color? To show the state, shows that it is clicked on. Thank you very much. Action. Okay. It is active. Thank you very much. Because we're currently on the home page. Thank you very much, Annie. That's a smart one. So yes, that's why. I'm sure you've gotten your answer now, Tibet. So yes, we have this, right? So I'm just going to select this together and group this, select this together, group this. There are other various ways or easier ways that I would have done this, but this is beginner friendly. That's why I decided to use this method. So with that being said, I'm going to select all of them together. Group them, and I'm going to create a component for this. I'm not decided to call this bottom now. Right? So when I created a component for this one, what's the next thing? I want to have different versions of this guy. So, but before then, I think I'm supposed to increase this. Okay, so I'm going to add version. So what's the second one going to be for? We're calling it search. What we're going to do, we're going to reduce this back to 20. And this is going to have the default color, right? Are we following? And then what's going to happen to this one now? This is going to have, going to be bigger because that's what we want. And this is going to change from this color towards the active, because we just called that search. So when that is done, we're moving on to the next one. If we call this profile, what happens here? These changes to 24, we make it smaller. Make sure to check our alignment, change this towards the default color. And then we now do the create to change for the profile. Make sure to check our alignments. Let me zoom in on that. And change this towards our active color, or the color to show that this is the active. states. We're just going to do the same thing for the last one, which is what? The menu. And we're going to run it one more time. Select both of them to ensure that it is aligned. Change it back to default. To 4. Have different variations. Remember what we said? Now let me just give you an example of what we stated. I'm going to copy this, right? Copy this and paste. Where is that our design? I'm going to copy this and we're going to take out this thing that we put here. And now let's say we decide to place it here. We have a bottom now. Actually, this is supposed to span out more than this, but let's just use this for the meantime. Let me span it out. And this is going to distort the icons. So let's just leave it like this, right? Let's say this is our bottom now. We did not measure, so we cannot actually have the right width to match the screen or the frame size. So let's say that we have this, right? So, and this is the home, or let me say this is not the home. Let's say that this is the search, right? And we want to change. So instead of it to go on the design, you're working on design, right? And you now duplicate the screens, right? Instead of you to go and start making changes to this search, all you have to do is, because it's the component, just come here and click on search. That's if you're currently working on the search screen. Now, if you now duplicate the same screen, so maybe you don't want to design it over and over again, you still want to maintain your bottom nav, you now want to design for the profile. What am I going to do? Come here, select profile. Do the same thing for the menu. I hope you understand that. So now, where is, yes, so we have this to be our bottom nav. So I'm select this out. Okay, let me not take it out. Let's say that we decide to link these guys, right? So if you click on this search, it should come here, right? So I'm just going to quickly show you how this will work when we decide to, if we decide to be interactive with this. So on click, right? On click on this search, it should navigate or change to this guy, right? And we want it to maybe have smart animation ease out. We're just going to quickly, we don't have much time. So search will bring you to this, and home will do what? Take you back here. Have smart animation. Okay. And for the profile, we're just going to link them one after the other, making sure that we don't miss any. Smart animation for the menu. Let me zoom out. We'll link this here because that's the menu. Now, I'm just going to be making sure that I've actually, okay, this is the search already. Profile will come here. This profile will come here, okay. For the menu, it comes to the last one. This is search, this is home, this is profile. So for the home, the first one, for the search, the second one, for the profile, we're already on the profile screen. For the menu, we have this guy. For the home here, we'll have the first one, right? For the search, we have the second one. For the menu, we already have menu, and for the profile, we have this one. So let's see. Let's see what happens if we decide to click on this guy. Let's just wait for it to load and okay. I think I played the wrong thing. Okay, hold on. This is supposed to interactions, events. Oh, let me fix that. I can actually show the options. So screen answers the one. Oh, right. I think I know where I messed that up. Yes, yes, yes. So let me just take this out. Let me take this out. Let me take this out. So let me take this out here. I think this will make no sense. So let me see what happens here. Okay. So let's do this again. Click on this. Sorry. That's my bad. Let me just select all three of them. Bring this out here. So I'm just going to quickly go over that again. Let's quickly go over that again. So we have this, we have this, we have, sorry, have this. We have this for the profile. Have this for the menu. Have this for the home, this for the search, this for the profile. This is the profile. Have this for the menu, this for the home, this for the search. Have this for, oh, this is the profile, sorry. So this for the menu. So just to be sure that I have this right. This. So let me just, I think this should work now. I think this should work for one. Then, okay. So you can see this. You click on profile, click on menu. I don't know what happened, but that's not supposed to show like that. So this is just to show you what happens when you link all of them. So this is the home, this is the search, this is the profile from what we just did here. So yes, we have a bottom navigation bar and And yes, you can actually try yours. There are a lot of different ways to design this. Most people decide to add a dot to the bottom or add a stroke to the bottom. People just like to play around. There are a lot of different creative ways that you can design a bottom navigation bar. So feel free to try it out and try to, to make it interactive like we just did. So with that, we've come to the end of today's class. Do we have any questions? Because we're way behind time because we did not start off too early. Do you have any questions? Please use the chat box if you have questions, or you can raise your hand. Chukudi, please go ahead.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
good evening. Thank you for the class. I want to ask, how do you start from linking it? Like where do you get your distance from? The linking tab.
All you have to do is just select on prototype. We're working on design the whole time. You can see I just clicked on prototype. Prototype is next to design. Did you see that? I hope that answered your question. So when you
Yeah.
click on yes, prototype, then you can now see all the prototype settings and all of that. See, Ben, go ahead.
Okay. For this what was it called? Style guideline. What was it? Am I correct? Hello.
What's your question?
For this particular topic that we are discussing on, how does it relate to when we come to making a prototype on Figma when designing for an app? Is it going to be on a different sheet or it will be, I don't know how to explain this, but is it supposed to be done separately like a guide to our main project?
Oh, you're asking if this can be part of your style guide?
So not actually like the style guide itself. Is it included like when we design after making what's it called, wireframe,
Yeah.
then the loop
Oh, okay. I think I can answer your question. I think I understand what you're trying to ask you. So just like you have low fidelity wireframes and all of that, you're asking if you can have your style guide. Yes, a lot of people actually do that. So what I personally like to do is to create a different page for my style guides, like I just did now. So I can decide that I want this page to have my style guide and this other page to have my design. Do you understand? Does that answer your question?
Okay, but this one it's not going to be it's just like the steps that we take to produce the product that we are designing, right?
It is a guideline, okay, to put you in check when you're making use of typography so that you don't end up using another typeface than what you already have on your UI. That's why you call it UI style guide. It's a guideline, okay, to ensure that you're actually consistent and on track when you're working on the design project. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So anything that we do on our style guideline, that's what we do on
Reflects
our
on your design.
all right. Thank you.
Yes.
But your
Ben,
last, sorry, can I go on?
Go on, please.
Your last menu, you did not attach it, you didn't link it to the first menu bar.
Yeah, I realized that. That's why you had
Your home.
a blank page. Yes. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Ben, please go ahead.
Okay, good evening. What I want to ask is, it's not really related to today's class. It was for yesterday, last Monday's class, or generally for Figma. Do we, if we want to design for different interface like the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the rest, do we have to do it for different iPhone, different devices, or is there anything that is always done?
So
Or maybe
like you said, I don't know if I understand your question, but if I understand what you're saying, right? When you're designing for different screens, right? They have different sizes. Okay, so you can see that the dimensions for Android is totally different from iPhone. Like I say, it's depending on whatever project you're working on. Okay, but I would like you to make sure that you consider the phone sizes before you pick out a frame. Because like I said, we have different frame sizes here. You can decide that you want to go for Android small, right? But it's not totally up to you. And there's a lot of things that the Android developer is going to work on, but it's your choice actually to make use of any phone frame size.
Okay, so it's the Android developer that is going to now make it compatible with all devices.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's something that we call responsive design. So, but yes, you have a part to play. I don't want to go into details now so that I do not crowd you a lot of information. But yes, there's something that we call responsive design. You can actually browse it or check it out. But like I said, the choice is yours to make use of whatever frame size.
All right, thank you.
Oreoluwa.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, sorry, my question is this. Like, is there a way that if we click before we click on the all these these navigation buttons, is there a way that the text can be invisible? Or maybe once we click on it, it will bring out the text.
Oh yes, that's actually possible. It depending on how you actually go about it. Like I said, people have different ways. So you can decide that, let me go back to design. You can decide that you want this, right?
Yes.
You want this to, let's say this is what you have initially, and you want only on these guys. You want only on the highlighted ones. That's when you want the text to show. You can just do this. Come here and use this I button here. But then I would advise that if you're doing that, make sure that you do not even add these things in the first place, because now this is going to leave this guy, and this doesn't really look good.
Okay.
So for me, I suggest like you just make use of this text, like completely delete this one. So you just have this, and then you have these ones, just icons, so that when you now create your variations, you're going to have something like this. Let me just copy this out here. And let me quickly duplicate this. Change this to 0, change this to 0. So you make sure that this is aligned to actually, and then change this to the default. So you can have this. Maybe I can decide to now duplicate this guy again. So let's say these are like different icons, the search, the profile, and let me see if I can quickly, let me just show you what I mean. It's this. So you can decide that you want this search to come here, bring to front, and that you want the menu to come here, bring to front, and the same thing for the, okay, that was profile. Same thing for the menu, bring to front. Do you understand? So this is what you asked, right? So it's possible that you want it to be this way. It's all in your hands, right? You can just play around. Yes, we have to create like different variations. So you know that this is going to look different when we're on the search. The search now is going to be a lot bigger, like the icon size, and then it's going to have a text placed under it. Do you understand?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. So do we have any other question before we call it a day? Tiben, please quickly ask a question and so we can round up the class.
Okay, one will make something like this, like just the icon. Most times, how do we make that pop-up sign that it shows the write-up that says home or search?
It's the same
In case-
procedure like I showed you today when you're working with the interactions. But like I said, you just have to create different variations like I did here. So you can decide that you want, that's what I just answered now. You can decide that you want this text to only pop up when they're actually on that page, so the active state. Do you understand?
Okay.
Yes, but see, you just have to create different variations because you know that this is for the home. So if I'm going to search is going to look something like this with the search icon and then the text, while the rest of the items on the bottom nav is not going to have the text. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. So we're just going to round up the class now in the absence of no more questions. Thank you very much for joining in. And like I said, if you have any questions about the task or you've completed a task and you actually redid your task, right? So and you want the mentors to know that you've worked on it, just drop a message and let us know. Thank you very much and have a nice day.